wrestling fans of all ages, shapes, sizes, genders, and everything in between. It is time to go to war and be VicTori for the Common Wrestling Podcast. Welcome to the revolution.
Buzz, guys. My name is Kate Murphy.
What's going on, everybody? This is Will Tarashuk, the founder of the Kings of the Rings podcast.
What's going on, guys? It is I, the one and only Quiet Riot himself, Zach, your host of the Young Lions Perspective.
What's up, guys? This is the Monday Night Delight.
Greetings, one and all. This is your Prime Minister speaking, your favorite Canadian, Mr. Fretz.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is NateFNGreat from the Game Changer podcast.
If you're looking for a network that keeps wrestling real, then you've come to the right place because
you're listening to...
You are listening to...
You are listening to...
You are listening...
Then you are listening.
Get ready for a war because you're listening to...
What is going on, everybody? This is King Ricky Rose, your general manager, and you are listening to Wrestle, Addict Radio. Now enjoy the show.
Are you ready?
Hey everyone, it's the Princess of Pro Wrestling, SoCal Val. You are listening to the Game Changer Podcast. Sending lots of love from California. Mwah.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Please welcome Mr. Fretz.
Ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 5 years as a podcaster, introducing Nate the Great!
Summertime.
Since summer's over.
Well, sure, but why not? Let's talk about the summertime blues. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Game Changer Podcast, and it is going to be a very special edition of it because we're going to be reviewing a show that is near and dear to my heart. Reason why? Because it's the first WWE show that I ever watched, the first pay-per-view that I ever got. It's going to be something very special. Before we get into that, let's get into the introductions. I am the champ that runs the camp that is Wrestle Addict Radio, Nate the effing Great, being joined here by the Prime Minister of Canada, and also he is the Indigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Mr. Fretz.
So, before I get real here, let me just let this off. Blue Jays are playoff bound, baby. Let's go. And probably rip my heart out in half like Toronto teams always do, except for the Raptors, who actually won a championship in my lifetime. I was also a kid when the Blue Jays won back-to-back. Yeah, I just turned off the ball game. Jays beat the Yanks. I'm not sorry, Ricky. But that's just something. When the Jays play the Yanks, they either get their asses kicked or they kick ass, and that was exactly what this series was against them. I'm excited, but, you know, there's every silver lining. I forget how that crap goes, but this week the wrestling world lost the other half of, actually, you and I's all-time favorite tag team, Road Warrior Animal, Joe Laurinaitis, brother of People Power, John Laurinaitis, and I'm bummed. You know, I met Animal last year, and those in the archives know that, you know, I met him at Comic-Con, and he was a super nice guy. We had just a brief chat about, you know, Hawk and Ellering and his son James, who had a brief career in the NFL. So, Animal, this one's for you. Toast to the spilt beer, as usual, Fretz.
Toast to the spilt beer.
Toast to the fallen. Is that a name of a? Yeah, there's the name of a song I like by a metal band that I don't know, but yeah. I've just been sad all week about this whole thing. It was shocking. He was only 60. That's so damn young. They say natural causes. At 60, God, rest in peace, LOD. I can just imagine them up there right now giving Owen the Doomsday device as a receipt for all the pranks back in the day.
I mean, there's also so many other people that are up there in the big wrestling ring in the sky that they're probably having a great match with. I mean, the Von Erichs. You could probably throw in British Bulldog and Jim the Animal Neidhart in there. It's truly a horrible loss for the world of wrestling, losing one of the greatest tag teams. Also, getting the chance to talk to him. I didn't really have too many prolonged conversations with Animal, but he was a cool dude from what I remember. So I definitely do agree. Thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Animal, and we know that he is going to be resting in peace, and he is being reunited with his boy Hawk. That's probably the one thing that's a beautiful sight. I'm just imagining that right now. It's just it is heartwarming, but it's also just heartbreaking knowing that another wrestling legend's gone. This year has been very pandemic, but it's also been very heart-wrenching as well.
Yeah, I mean, we lost. The only other one that comes to mind is Kamala. There's way more, but it's just been a rough year for that, and for celebrities like freaking Chadwick. That one broke me in half. Just I didn't know who he was when Wade told me that Chadwick Boseman passed away, but then when I Googled it, I just almost dropped my phone. But God bless that family. Thoughts and prayers, but actual thoughts and prayers instead of the hashtag that. Yeah, it sucks, man.
Definitely does. Thoughts and prayers go out to everybody this year who has lost a loved one. You're in our thoughts. You're in our prayers. We definitely do want you to know that you are not alone when it comes to this. So, trying to transition from that is always tough, but we always do try to stay positive, and one of the things that I mentioned at the top of the show is the fact that we are going to be talking about the first show that I ever watched on pay-per-view. This was pay-per-view. This was literally when we had satellite TV and we had the box and everything like that. There was no DVR. There was no WWE Network. You had to go and put it on satellite TV, and for some people, you could record them even though that's illegal. I was one of those people. I'm not going to lie. All those in favor, yay. All those opposed, that's what I thought.
BitTorrents. No, dude, I could actually go into my bedroom right now and break out a closet. A milk crate of VHS tapes of taped events.
Oh, shit.
Because I used to do a bit of tape trading back in the day, too. I'll tell you about it off air, but it was a really cool thing that I used to get into, but... Yeah, this is one that escaped me despite the fact it took place in my home-ish, away from home-ish, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. When people ask me where I'm from, I just say Toronto because I grew up in a tiny town 2 hours northwest of the city, and now I live 3.5 hours west of the city.
So, obviously, guys, we're going to be reviewing this entire show, but before we go into that, it's time for that classic time. It's time to go way, 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 way back. It's the way back machine with Mr. Fretz. TM.
Okay, so first, I'm just going to get this out of the way right away because everyone's going to turn this off. I might get canceled. I might get kicked off, but one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life, although I haven't revisited it since, and I'm willing to try it again, but Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, that's right.
Came out around this time in 2004, and I hated it. There was a girl I was working with at the time I was at the plastic factory. She's like, "Oh, you should watch this movie," and because I thought she was cute, I took her up on that offer, and then I went to her the next day. I want my hour and a half of my $5 back for renting that piece of crap. I'm willing to revisit it, though. I am. I might change my mind about it. We also had UFC 49 with Belfort versus Couture. We had Princess Diaries 2, Garden State, and in the world of video games, we had Doom 3. One of my all-time favorite Game Boy Advance games, Astro Boy Omega Factor. Who's Astro Boy, you ask? Well, he is the Mickey Mouse of anime. So if you like Bleach, One Piece, or Full Metal Alchemist, I like those shows, you have Astro Boy to thank for that. The grandfather of anime. Classic show. And then we also had two great GameCube games because I was a GameCube guy. WWE Day of Reckoning, a underrated series on the GameCube, and Beautiful Joe, great platformer for the Cube. So if everyone has not turned off because of my hatred for Napoleon Dynamite, despite the fact I love all the actors in that movie, I might watch it again, maybe tonight.
Hey, we'll see what happens. So SummerSlam 2004 took place on August 15th, 2004, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, as Mr. Fretz pointed out, at the Air Canada Centre, with an attendance of 17,640. And the tagline is, "Let the games begin." And why is that? Because they were trying to compare this to the whole summer games that were going on there. And I will say this had probably some of my favorite promotional deals going into SummerSlam, with all the wrestlers going into the summer games, and just some of them were kind of cheating, some of them were just being dicks about it. I think there just came a point, I think Kurt Angle did one where he was fencing, and he was just like, screw this, and he just beats the guy down, puts him in an ankle lock or something like that.
Nice.
There's another one where Eddie Guerrero was doing a relay race, but all the relay runners, I think their shoes got tied, or they got caught in the starting yell. So basically, Eddie Guerrero was just like, "What happened? I'm totally fine. What's up?" He just kind of paces his way, does a little shimmy deal. Oh, there's so much good stuff. But the first one was always the best one, where where Kurt Angle is just in his wheelchair. He's basically just talking about how the summer games are just awesome and blah 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 blah. And then just this guy's doing like a long jump deal. Batista just catches him and just tosses him into the sand. And Kurt Angle, he just looks at that, he looks at the camera, and he just says, "What are you expecting? It's SummerSlam, of course."
Putting the slam in SummerSlam.
Oh my gosh. So we have quite an interesting lineup here. There's 8 matches to talk about, which, I'm not going to lie, after watching shows like this, I miss these kind of shows that are just nice and easy. Stories are easy to follow along. It's fun. So that's kind of like a spoiler of what my review is going to be. But I will mention this, that there was a dark match that took place on Sunday Night Heat where Rob Van Dam defeated Rene Dupree. So we already know how awesome Rob Van Dam was. I mean, this is a guy who was running the Thursday nights on SmackDown. And then there's Rene Dupree, who earlier in the year broke off with La Resistance to be a singles competitor. He had a feud with Cena throughout the year, which was decent, to say the least. But Rene Dupree was just this Frenchman who did a little dance. He had a poodle. I don't know. I kind of miss gimmicks like Rene Dupree, just because they put a smile on my face, I think.
And his old chien de Fifi. Yeah, his little dog Fifi. And I've been listening to, the British New Gen podcast. They're a little bit ahead of the timeline as our buddies Levi and like Kyle, I think Jake and them are. But they're in the middle of 04 and they're just getting to Fifi and Rene Dupree. I think they call them like the French twat or something like that. It's like the bellends in the shit shirts. That's what they call La Resistance.
Oh my god, it's great. So we are actually one step ahead of the game. I actually did send a message to the Ruthless Aggression Pod, letting them know that wait until 2004 comes, because we're going to see a special move throughout the entire night, and we're going to get to that just a bit. But let's go into the kickoff deals. I will say this one thing I was bummed about when it comes to ever watching these shows is the fact that they put on these generic music for instead of the theme songs that they had for that. The theme song for this one is Summertime Blues by Rush, which you may have noticed at the start of the show was the song. I love this. This was one of those things that just got me all pumped up and ready to go. Just seeing the hype packages, just really just putting up the matches. It just was great. And we go into the first matchup here, which I'm going to let Mr. Fretz talk about first, because it's the Dudleys taking on the team of Paul London, Billy Kidman, and one Rey Mysterio Jr. Mr. Fretz, what did we see in this match?
Well, this was a great 6-person tag match. I mean, you had a little bit of the tag team championship and the cruiserweight championship kind of being feuded over it a little bit here. Spike, I think, had recently won the cruiserweight title from Rey Mysterio, and in kind of an ironic.
I was going to say, if you want, I can kind of give a little story about this, since I think we're going to be doing a lot of background in this event. So
I think I had it, but
okay, go for it. Okay, so basically the story with the tag team titles was that the Dudley Boys were the tag team champions. Paul London and Billy Kidman, they won the titles off of them. It was great. But as far as Spike Dudley goes, it was kind of a bit of a shocker kind of deal, because the Dudley Boys are trying to tell Spike, oh, you should join up with us. It'd be cool. We reunite with the family. And Spike's like, no, I'm not doing that. Well, Spike Dudley inadvertently won the Cruiserweight title from Rey Mysterio, and basically it came down to a situation where Spike's like, hey, you want another shot at it? You got it, whenever you want. On an episode of SmackDown, though, Spike Dudley showed his true colors by giving Rey Mysterio a low blow and sending him through a table, which set up this 6-man tag team matchup. Okay, I think they're caught up.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's basically where I was going to go here. Spike Dudley, the new cruiserweight champion, in an ironic twist, Kidman and London are two wrestlers that would have previously and future hold that title. Actually, a year from this pay-per-view, Paul London, one of my low-key favorites at the time, would be holding that very title. And I wrote down here, Spike is finally wearing the pants. They call it, because he was kind of being called or dubbed like the boss, not Sasha Banks, of the Dudley Boys. Because it was for years and years. If you go back even to the Invasion era, Spike was kind of, well, they called him the runt of the Dudley litter. And Bubba Ray and Devon would pick on him a little bit, like on and off, just nudge him, and then finally really rag on him and beat the living crap out of him. But we had, episode of SmackDown before this, Kidman in London, I was marking out. I'll have to show you my Paul London DVD over there. And then you had the original, Who's That Jumping Out the Boat? OSW review shout out there. Yeah, and Paul London, who had made his debut, actually, in something we might have covered. Did we talk WrestleMania X8?
I don't think we reviewed that yet. I think
I probably did, but
yeah, you did.
There was a segment where Ric Flair and Taker were fighting backstage, and Ric Flair inadvertently attacked a fan, which was Paul London. Then he gets signed to the contract. Debuts getting his ass handed to him by Brock Lesnar.
Because of course. And then, of course, he starts tagging with Brian Kendrick and then with Kidman. So, yeah, we had a good thing here. Paul London was looking really good here with his mushroom stomp, that thing where he jumped over the guy and landed on the back of his shoulders and stomped him. Did the drop salt, a move that I really loved, drop kick moonsault. Spike was just being a total douche. And I wrote down here the Toronto crowd, every 2 count. 2! Yeah, we're cool. We're cool on the T-Dot. Billy hits a nice BK bomb. Paul London with a really, really good tope suicida. The Filthy Animals of Rey Mysterio and Kidman used the heart attack finishing move in Canada, I noticed. Kidman hits a shooting botch press, but
to no avail. He eats a 3D, and the Dudley family wins. I thought this was a great opener. It showcased the talent that Paul London had. Kidman was in about the twilight of his career. Allegedly, Kidman and London, they didn't like working with each other that much, and they would actually be feuding by the end of the year. If you watch No Mercy, their match, that is some bloody stuff. Like friggin' that shooting botch press that Kidman does while London is strapped into the gurney. And then, of course, Paul starts spitting up blood. Vicious crap. I loved this this match. What I didn't love was that terrible cover of Summertime Blues. I love Rush, but that didn't sound like Rush to me.
Fair enough. So, a couple of notes I'll throw in here. I did also, you mentioned, Spike being a douche. He was being a douche. But so is Bubba. He has one line where he just goes, "I'll beat your face in," as Bubba normally does. I will say, one of the things I remember from this was Rey Mysterio just being able to fly everywhere. And I remember watching it with my little brother, and anytime that Rey Mysterio would just go flying, he would do like his, see it senton. He did this very nice flying reverse DDT to Devon, which was amazing. There's so many moments where Rey Mysterio just goes flying, and I just went, wee! Wee! Just because it's so funny. There actually is one point during this matchup where we see, for the first time tonight, the dreaded Smoking Goal! Oh, God! Yeah, Billy Kidman hits a back body drop on Devon. There's going to be more references of that. I regret nothing. Also, major shout out to the Ruthless Aggression Pod. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. Yeah, this was honestly a great matchup. And I even had some moments where I put notes as far as the fans, interaction was to this, because I do remember the crowd being one of the highlights of this entire show. And for this opening matchup, they loved it. They loved the six-man tag. They loved the fact that we got cruiserweights. You got one of the best tag teams in history in this match. This was a great matchup, a great opener.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and if this was like an era that we were following in a timeline, I would say I'm looking forward to more Paul London, but now that Velocity's on the network, I just might indulge.
Oh, that's right. It is on the network now.
A few of them are, but not all of them.
Yeah. Beggars can't be choosers, but eventually. We move on to the next matchup, which was just bear in mind, guys, that this is a show that features Raw and SmackDown matches. So we have the next match, which is going to be Kane versus Matt Hardy in a Till Death Do Us Part matchup, where the winner will be married to Lita. Mr. Fretz, talk about this build-up for this matchup.
Man, if I remember this correctly, okay, this was before Edge. There was a thing here where I think Matt was in danger, so in order to protect Matt, Kane would bang Lita. I think that's how it went.
Yeah.
This was some Seth Rollins revealing some stuff about the Mysterio family, Jerry Springer crap. And then, surprise, Lita's pregnant. And it's not Matt's baby. And then, of course, that would give us something that wasn't Snitsky's fault. I'm really confusing this with the real life turmoil with Edge and Lita and Matt and this storyline. So I'm a little confused.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. And one of the things that they put in here was they did a segment on Raw before SummerSlam to kind of hype it up, where Lita took a paternity test where they tested DNA. Apparently, Matt's not the baby daddy. Kane is. So Matt Hardy literally just goes on this angry spree. Kane has that amazing line, which I know people are going to call me crazy for that, but I loved Kane during that segment where he just goes, "It looks like I'm more man than you'll ever be." He's just, I'm sorry. This is where Kane just got to be more vastly entertaining than evil. And at the same, I know people are gonna judge me as like, oh, you basically are saying rape is good. No, I'm not saying rape is good. I'm just saying the way that they did this, Kane just looked like a freaking comedian, dude. Because this is also the point where we got that whole Matt, that baby that lady's carrying, it isn't yours, it's mine. Just him being a freaking villain. It's like a comic book villain. It's like, what the hell is this?
Kane was definitely pulling the Lex Luthor card at this point in time. He had the lack of hair to go over it. And
oh God, you're right.
Yeah, Matt. Well, I think Matt went away with an injury just after this because they had that wedding, and then Snitsky came into the picture as just an enhancement talent, and then accidental. What's the word I'm looking for? Miscarriage. Yeah, I don't like the miscarriage angles in wrestling. They're a little bit too close to the. Well, I don't like them.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So we get to this matchup, and I'm just going to say this: there's two signs that really stood out to me. The first one is there's a sign that literally says Lita is an evil Jezebel. To which I reply, "You are a year too early, my friend."
Okay, JR.
We get an early assault by Matt Hardy. He gets some advantage. He gets a nice side effect off the second rope. Leg drop to the back of the head. A deadly tornado DDT. Getting a good advantage to start off until Kane does his classic uppercut and takes the advantage. Kane beaten down on Matt Hardy. Gets low bridged. Matt Hardy hits a crossbody on the outside and a twist of fate, which looks awesome. Kane is seemingly down. Matt Hardy's like, "Oh, I'll take the victory. I'll take the count out victory." At a count of 6, Kane sits up. He gets into the ring just barely enough. I will also say this, that I understand that there's like a relationship story between Matt and Lita because they are actual couple at this point, but they're kind of coming off as more the heels in this deal, and Kane is starting to seem more like the babyface. You don't believe me? At this point in the matchup, Kane gets his bell rung, throwing a pun in there because he gets hit by a ring bell by Matt Hardy, and it looks like, oh, it's going to be over, but Kane gets his foot on the bottom rope, which, do we see that? No. It's weird, but at the same time, it's like, I get it. They're trying to make him not look like he's a freaking monster, but at the same time, damn it would have been so cool if he would have kicked out. Kane looks to take advantage with the clothesline from the top, but Matt stops him. He's going for the twist of fate, and then Kane's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. I'm going to grab you by the throat and send you to hell with a huge choke slam. Kane covers Matt for the 1, 2, 3, picks up the victory. Lita is just in shock, and there's also another sign as Lita's heading to the back that says, Lita is a Dumas. For those of you that don't get that joke.
No. God.
For those of you that don't get that joke, we are questioning our friendship. But this was funny. I'm sorry. Just that whole deal where Kane is just literally like, come on, we're going to be married. And Lita just runs off. It's just great. And just Jerry Lawler's deal of like, here comes the groom. And the fans, as soon as Kane picked up the victory, they're like, yes, Kane wins. Other than that, they were kind of meh in this matchup. They were just kind of like, it's here. So, all honesty, match itself, it was okay. It's I guess serviceable because it does continue the storyline between Kane and Lita. But did this matchup really need to happen? No, I think the storyline could have just rotten the sack.
Yeah, Matt came off as a bit of a chump here at this point in time. It made him look terrible. And Jerry Lawler, why were you on commentary this week? Nope, okay, I'm not going off in retribution today. I'm not doing it. Calm Blue Ocean. Yeah, Jerry was fat-shaming Lita here. It's like, Lita's already showing. You don't ever say that to a lady. Ever. My gosh. And I was gutted once I heard, oh, yeah. I didn't see any Matt facts. I didn't see Matt strongly disliking Mustard. I didn't see the early internet loading screen and the buffering video. This was just them still having the I Can Slap a Tornado by, I forget whatever band license they still had. And I really like the super side effect, the twist of fate on the outside, the ring bell, and then it's just Kane's superhuman. He's the Undertaker's brother, so of course he's going to no-sell everything. And the stipulation is just a dead giveaway, not pun intended, for Lita's miscarriage. I'm sorry. Yeah, we get a wrestling wedding, and this one, Kane and Lita, that was one of the most entertaining wrestling weddings I ever saw, because it involved I think there was some. I'm thinking of something else because there's another wedding where Kane gets involved, and the priest is just, dearly beloved, I now pronounce you, and then he just breaks the JC bomb out loud, and Kane destroys everything.
Oh,
I think it was Edge.
Yes,
it was an Edge thing for sure. Yes, but Matt and Lita, that gave us another entertaining wrestling wedding. Like, isn't there one with Kip Sabian coming up? I mean, Rusev's going to do something for that, isn't he?
He has to at this point.
Wrestling weddings. Yeah, I thought this match was fine for the both of them, but Matt looked like a chump.
Agreed. But who didn't look like a chump is literally the best segue from Kane going to the back to find Lita to Randall Keith Orton, who is literally just looking at a camera being like, "Ooh yeah, I'm hot and sexy." Todd Grisham is trying to do a deal where he's like, "Well, I think we're all shocked that, Lita is probably going to be so upset." And of course Orton just takes it. It's like, I don't give a crap about Lita. Tonight is all about one thing, and that's about my destiny. SummerSlam is going to be historic tonight. And he goes, "Tonight will be." Everybody looks over. It's Jonathan Q. Cena. Because he decides, hey, I want to steal Orton's spotlight because we're going to wrestle in a few years. Because why not? So basically...
Cena with the throwback Blue Jays jersey. You get points.
It was great. Just him basically calling Todd Grisham Randy Jr. is fucking hilarious. And then he basically does like a deal with Toronto where he says, "Do you like Randy Orton? Is he going to beat Chris Benoit for the world title tonight?" And then the classic scene of, "Well, at least you got the people behind you."
Hey, T-Dot.
Oh my gosh, I loved Cena's entertaining stuff here. And then Orton just goes like, "I don't care what a bunch of ass-backwards Canadians think. Like, I certainly don't care about what John Cena has to say." And he basically guarantees he's going to be the world champion by the end of the night. I like this little promo. This little interview. It was nice. But it also goes right into the next matchup, which is, I love this. It's match number 1 in a best-of-5 series to determine the undisputed United States champion. Champion Booker T versus John Cena. I want to state this first before we go too deep into like the backstory on this. There was a relay matchup that they had on SmackDown the previous, about a couple days before this event happened. I think it's a great concept. Basically, it was a deal where you had members of like three on each team, and you're basically just trying to pin the person. But in like 5-minute intervals, person basically gets to switch out. So it was Booker T, Rene Dupree, and Luther Reigns. Oh, trust me, we'll talk about him later. Against Rob Van Dam, Charlie Haas, and John Cena. So it was kind of one of those things where it almost worked a bit like the Championship Scramble, but a little more interesting. I'm going to have to watch this matchup back because I kind of liked it for the interesting concept that it was. Could it be a cluster at times? I'm sure it could, but it was nice the way it is. Mr. Fretz, you'll be taking the reins for this one, but how did we get to this point here?
Whether fighting or spitting, my discipline is unforgiving. Got you backing up in the defensive position. An ass-kicking anthem. Heavyweight or bantam. Holding camps or ransom. A microphone phantom. Teams hit the floor with this new fight joint. Like a broken needle, kid, you missing the point. We dominate your conference with offense. They're no nonsense. My theme song hits. Get your reinforcements. I had to. I couldn't resist. I love basic thug and offense. We strike kick with But Uncle Miss, who fight this bitch, you lifeless. Okay, done. So we had Booker. Nope. A few years before he would become royalty, this was a best of 5. I don't need 5. 3 ain't enough. I don't need 5. Fretz is Fave 5 on the Patreon. Shout out. Yeah, I think this was just echoing back to the best of 5 series that Booker and Benoit had in WCW. It's just, hey, I'm good. No. I'm better. Well, let's prove it in a best of 5 series. I don't know if this was like for the title or if it was just for bragging rights because
it was for the title.
So it's not like the scramble where, let's just say, Cena wins this match tonight. And then the next one, let's say Booker wins. Booker doesn't win the title. At the end of the 5, you have, possession of the title. Kind of. That's how it goes, right?
Basically, it is the first person to get 3 victories wins the series. So, and getting a little more backstory into this, John Cena was the United States champion from WrestleMania to about, I want to say, a little bit after the Great American Bash. But then GM at the time, Kurt Angle, was just hating the fact that John Cena was the champion and trying to get it off any way that he could. So there came a point where Cena inadvertently hit Kurt Angle, and he said, hey, you do that one more time, I'm stripping you of the title. Lo and behold, Cena does it inadvertently. Kurt Angle's like, all right, fine, I'm stripping you of the title. So they have 8-man, I think it was an 8-man elimination matchup with Teddy Long's first order as GM. Holla, holla, holla. He makes it for the U.S. title. Booker T sneaks out with the victory in this matchup. And Booker T is basically getting along with Teddy, saying like, hey, man, I'm the champ. I'm going to do whatever it takes, blah, blah. And Teddy's just like, well, okay. So just bear in mind that Cena didn't really lose the title. He was stripped of it by the hater Kurt Angle. And this is how we get the best of 5 series, because Teddy Long wants to make SmackDown must-see TV. Why not have 2 of the shining stars on SmackDown compete 5 times? Because they did better than Sheamus and Cesaro. I love Cesaro, but still. So we get into the matchup itself. Mr. Fretz, what did we see in this matchup?
Oh, really the only notes I took here was it was a quick match. Booker misses the axe kick. He goes for a spinneroonie. Cena hits the FU or the AA, because PG, and that was that. It was rather quick. Cena, what I loved about Cena is that every town he was in, at least when he was a babyface, he came out with a throwback jersey of the sports team. And tonight, in a nice full circle moment, John Cena came out in a really, really classic royal blue Toronto Blue Jays jersey. I didn't see who was on the back. I think it was either him or whoever would have been on the team at the time. I can't think. I wasn't watching baseball in 2004, so maybe it was Verlander or maybe it was who I have here, Roberto Alomar. It was really good, and I liked that element of Cena. He was really coming into his own here. A lot of the Dirty Dirt Sheets were saying that he's next for the push. And that little sneak preview we saw with Orton and Cena was the benefit of foresight. I think that's the word I'm looking for. It was beautiful.
It was. I really don't have too much to add in here. I think there were a couple of spots where Booker T had some highlights, like a jumping kick here, a beautiful side slam here, spine buster here. Nothing really too crazy about this matchup. Now, obviously, they're going to get better as time goes on. They have their best of 5 series, and it goes all the way to No Mercy. They do this really perfectly, in honesty. And actually, one of the falls took place in overseas shows in Australia, so they really did play it off like it could happen anytime, anywhere. It was great. Match itself, it's serviceable. It's one of those things where it's like we're going to see everything kind of build up from match 1, and then it's going to get better and better as time goes on, and it does, in my opinion. But we go into the next segment where Teddy Long is backstage. He's basically proud of the fact that the Best of 5 series is going off well. And in comes Eric Bischoff. And the first thing that comes out of Teddy Long's mouth is, well, if it ain't the head cracker in charge of Raw, I'm on the ground laughing. I'm just like, damn it, Teddy. Why? And they decide, hey, we're just going to take shots at each other. Where Bischoff is basically stating, well, anytime we do like a co-hosted show, seems like I'm dealing with another manager. And he goes through the list of Stephanie McMahon, Paul Heyman, Kurt Angle, as well as you. And he predicts that by Survivor Series, he's probably going to be talking to a new general manager. And Teddy responds by saying, I don't know if you're going to, get rid of Eugene on Raw. But if you do, I have no problem signing him to SmackDown and making him the biggest star ever. Not only that, but I will take anybody that hates your guts and wants to leave, and I'll do the same to them. And the line that just rings throughout this entire segment is, it's nothing personal, it's just business. I basically gave the W to Teddy here because it's Teddy Long and he's a fucking amazing.
Holla holla.
And we go into the next matchup. It's a triple threat matchup for the Intercontinental Championship. We have Batista versus Chris Jericho versus Edge. Oh, there's a lot to talk about in this matchup. So, Edge being the Intercontinental Champion, he won the title off of Randy Orton at Vengeance, being told that he's going to have to defend a triple threat matchup against Chris Jericho as well as Batista. There's a nice little segment between Edge and Chris Jericho on Raw, where Jericho, excuse me, basically, hyping it up, making it seem like it's going to be an awesome matchup. Batista's story here is literally him just knocking everybody out with a clothesline to the back of the head. For those that don't know, that's called the Northern Lights Lariat because Robert Roode made it. Awesome. So
glorious.
Made it glorious. Fair enough. So that's kind of the backstory behind this. There's some tension between Jericho and Edge because they can't get along in a tag match, but also because Jericho's gunning for the Intercontinental title. So we get to the entrances themselves. Batista, he's getting booed, but also find out in about a year he's going to be a world champion. Calling it right now. We have Chris Jericho, who is heavily loved in Toronto, and then we have the hometown boy Edge, who gets a bit of a mixed reaction. And I will talk about that throughout this matchup here, because he actually does document it in his documentary. He actually documents this matchup itself as a moment where it's like, okay, something needs to change. Batista is literally just having that physical presence. He's just beating down on everybody, hitting a power slam. He goes for the Batista bomb, but Edge is just like, nope. Hits a chop block. Anytime Edge is getting some kind of momentum, he's getting booed out of the building. It's like, man, this is getting rough. Batista gets like tossed into the steps twice, which is badass. Jericho and Edge, they are basically fighting each other. They're basically telling a story there. Jericho does this nice crossbody and Edge rolls perfectly into the ropes where it looks like he's got his feet on the ropes for that pin. Oh, it's a beautiful spot. Jericho gets the walls of Jericho locked in. It looks like Edge is about to tap, but Batista's like, nope. He makes the save. Edge hits an execution. He goes for the spear, but Jericho's like, no, that's not happening. Anytime that Jericho gets hit with a spinebuster by Batista, he makes it look awesome. It's a thing of beauty. Jericho is able to get Batista out of the ring. He hits a bulldog on Edge, knocks Batista off the apron again. Edge hits a spear for the 1-2-3. Edge picks up the victory. So the match itself, pretty physical. In all honesty, I like what they were doing with the championship. I love what they were doing with all three of these guys. It's a bit of a showcase. It's really cool. As far as, the crowd reaction, this is kind of one of those things where you start seeing the crowd's going to have a mind of its own because they're booing their hometown boy. But also because he was kind of being a generic babyface. And we find out that before the year's over, he's going to be a bastard. and in the best possible way.
Yeah, this was definitely the catalyst for Edge's future heel turn and future run as the Rated R superstar. Like, I can't speak for all Torontonians, or actually Edge is from Orangeville, which is not far from where I live now, but yeah, something was off. I mean, like, I think, at least from what I understood, was they hated that Rob Zombie wasn't his entrance theme anymore. They went back to his, like, friggin' 1998 music, and that he was just generic. This was X-Pac syndrome all over again, like how X-Pac was still D-Generation X, like 3 years after the fact, and I wasn't feeling it at all. But this match was very good. You know, the crowd was loving Batista. Like, all my friends were loving Batista at this point in time, and there was a great line by JR here when Batista hit the spine buster. That's a spine buster that'll quiver your liver. And that is right out of Arn Anderson's playbook, I believe. And we had a glimpse of future tag team champions in Chris Jericho and Edge. There was a whole bunch of Edge boos, and then there was an air horn. That or Vampiro farted on commentary and went back in time and did it. A great pop for the Lion Tamer. A great spot. There was a lion salt. There was a counter to that, and there was a spear. And yeah, I think it was Edge's Decade of Decadence, or one of the other ones that back when WWE documentaries were on Netflix. I watched it, and I just I agreed with them at the time. I'm like, yeah, Edge, I love him because he's from Toronto, but you need a change, bro. And that change would become a different rating in the film rating. What's that thing called? He would become Rated R.
Point made. So, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we come back. We're going to go with the second half of Summerslam, which is going to feature a pretty good technically style matchup, 2 championship matchups, and dodgeball. Oh, joy of joys. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
Hey guys, it's the Princess of Pro Wrestling, SoCal. You are listening to Wrestle Addict Radio. I'm sending all the love from California. Mwah!
Hello, fellow wrestling fans. This is Will Tarashik of the Kings of the Rings podcast, the founder of that podcast, by the way. And if you have some extra money to shell out to support all of Wrestle Addict Radio and our shows, that's what keeps our shows going for free, ladies and gentlemen, go over to teespring.com and check out our Wrestle Addict Radio fan page with all of our merch, including t-shirts, mugs, coronavirus masks, blankets, mugs again, because everyone loves mugs, t-shirts, I mentioned t-shirts, and anything else you can think of is there with all of our logos for Wrestle Addict Radio, the Kings of the Rings podcast, the Delight Show with Mitch Chappell, the Young Lions Perspective, the Game Changer, and more. You can also get exclusive merch from each of us, of course, myself, Willie T, King Ricky Rose, the Queen Bee, Kate Murphy, and a bunch of other stuff. So go over to teespring.com and support our podcast, because that's how we do it, for free with listener support. So go there, buy a shirt, buy a mug, buy a blanket, buy. And thank you for your continued support for Wrestle Addict Radio.
My name's the Monday Night Delight, and my life has been pretty crazy. You see, I've been a wrestling fan since I was 10, and when I was 29, I started a wrestling show with my friend Mitchell called The Gift Podcast. You may have heard of it. It was great, but Mitchell met a girl that he thought was even greater, so he left the show and they got married, and I still love him. Anyway, I did the show by myself for a while, but that got hard, so I joined up with Rant with Ant and went to WrestleMania, where I met the Kings of the Rings, and that was awesome. Eventually, though, Rant with Ant went away, but Ant left us with Wrestle Addict Radio. Hooray! But then things got crazy in my life, and I decided to stop doing The Gift Podcast. For 4 months, I didn't do a show, except when Goldberg won the Universal title from The Fiend. I mean, what was that all about? I was so mad, and I had no outlet. It drove me crazy, and I had to start a new show. The Delight Show. Every Wednesday, we talk about all elite wrestling, TNA, Impact Wrestling, pop culture, and if we really have to, the WWE. It's a fun time, and I'd love for you to join me every Wednesday on The Delight Show on Wrestle Addict Radio, the cure for the common wrestling podcast. Bye!
Hi, this is the Kate Murphy, the Queen Bee of Kings of the Rings podcast, and you are listening to the Game Changer podcast right here on Wrestle Addict Radio, the cure for the common wrestling podcast.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am NateFNGreat, joined here by Mr. Fretz. I could not plan those last 2 commercials out anymore than I ever. Oh my gosh, that was way too perfect. time. Oh my gosh. So one thing we definitely do want to talk about, guys, before we go any further, is that we have some big news in regards to our newest wrestling platform. It's so big that I'm beyond words right here. Mr. Fretz, what the hell did we just announce this past week?
We're on Amazon Music. I mean, all of Wrestle Addict Radio is now on Amazon Music. Will Tarashuk was nice enough to include Fretzlemania, which is not affiliated with Wrestle Addict Radio technically, but yeah, I am on Amazon Music, which is why my listens might have went up a little bit. But yeah, I don't know what the platform is. I could be completely honest with you. I didn't know Amazon Music was a thing until King Ricky told us that we were on there. But apparently, it's pretty big, and it enables us to be heard by potentially more people. So I'm for it. Like, bring it on. More people get to hear me ramble on and make obscure references and random jokes, but to each their own. So any new listeners, welcome aboard. Follow me at The Legendary JF on Instagram and Twitter, and listen to Fretzlemania podcast. I uploaded a tribute to Road Warrior Animal today. But yeah, it's big news, Nate. High fives all around. And King Ricky, thank you. Thank you very much for giving us this platform and for, working behind the scenes and getting all this neat stuff, and big things, I guess, are coming for us. Props. Cheers.
Yes.
Down my drink.
Yes, indeed they are. So we go back into SummerSlam 2004. We're into the second half, and the next matchup here is Eduardo Gori Guerrero versus Kurt Angle. I love the promo for this matchup because it tells the story in its entirety. They mention the fact that they've wrestled at WrestleMania. Eddie Guerrero picked up the victory by lying, cheating, and stealing. It's his gimmick. What do you expect? And they talk about the fact that Kurt Angle got injured by it's the big crybaby that got fired. Trust me, that's the one time that you will ever see Big Show on this show. No pun intended. So, I also really love the interaction between Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle before SummerSlam, where basically Kurt Angle is trying to make it like a passionate deal, where he just says, do you know what it's like to have something that you love so much be taken away from you from the very eyes? And Eddie Guerrero immediately counters it with, you mean like when you screwed me over for the WWE Championship? They go right into talking about the cage match deal, where Kurt Angle screws him out of the title, and it's all built up to this because Eddie said it best. So you've been behind a fake injury, essay, making my life a living hell, and why? You don't think that you can beat me. And he even asked that burning question. It's like, maybe you're right. Maybe I can't beat you without cheating, essay. But what if I can? And that is the burning question. And does it get answered here? We'll see. So, the fans, they're pretty pro Kurt Angle in this matchup. And maybe it's because they like Kurt Angle, they like the bald guy, or maybe they just thought, chew anybody, that's not the dude that's out there. That's quote-unquote Roman Reigns' cousin. We don't have any facts about that, but he's probably like a second cousin twice removed or something like that. So, we have that. We have Eddie Guerrero comes out in a lowrider. And, Fretz, there's a little gem here that comes from Mr. Taz. And what was that gem?
He says, what do you find a lowrider in Toronto, Cole? Have you been to Little Italy, Taz? I used to deliver meat to Little Italy, my family butcher shop. I've talked about this in the past, at a place called literally Vito's. Yeah, you could see lowriders there. We're not cultured in Canada, and if I can speak for that again, remember, I don't know if you ever heard of it, but WWE Niagara Falls. It was just basically like an outlet store on the Clifton Hill Strip.
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't WWE New York, but it was just a store. I went there around this time, actually, in 04, 05, something like that. And there was a guy there I was meeting. He was a giant mark like me. And I bought a Kurt Angle shirt. Ooh. He's like, yeah, he made that bitch Shawn Michaels tap out at Mania, yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah? Because I'll be honest, I'm not a big Shawn Michaels fan, but it was fun. Yeah, Canada, we love Kurt Angle. He is, he's a Canadian hero to us.
He's Canadian even though he wears the red, white, and blue, and that's beside the point. Mr. Fretz, what did we see in this matchup?
Well, besides Taz not knowing about lowriders in the 6, we had wicked Olympic slam right off the bat. We had German suplexes. We had, what was it? What did I have here? And Eddie doing the ankle lock. Olale. An Olympic slam, and then the straps came off. Oh, crap. Eddie did. Kurt Angle means business. That straps come off. You know what it means. There's an eternal ankle lock here, and Luther Reigns, the long-lost 17th removed cousin of Roman Reigns. If you've seen the movie, what was that movie? The Girl Next Door with Alicia Cuthbert. He's in it. He's the bodyguard in that movie. Like the bodyguard for the porn stars.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Synopsis, this guy lives next to the smoking hot high school girl, but she does porn, and it's a prom movie. It's not that good. So there's and he's in that as a bodyguard. Anyways, super angle slam. Eddie presses A and B in No Mercy and does the Olympic slam himself. This is an absolute technical masterclass. It's so darn good. We see that boot spot that we saw at WrestleMania 20. Eddie was going to go try it again and untie the boot, but no. There's a ref bump. There's a boot spot again. Who throws a shoe? Honestly. And then there's a bit of light cheating and stealing. Eddie does the whole, lie down and, wink at the camera thing. He's feeling froggy, goes for the frog splash. Kurt kicks out, and I think Taz says, Jiminy Crickets, or if you're J-Bone, shout out to Smash This Podcast, Jiminy Christmas. And there's an ankle lock, rolling back into it. Kurt Angle hangs on. He rolls around. Eddie's rolling around too. Grapevine, and that's it. Eddie has no choice but to tap out. And the series is at 1-1. Although I don't know if we'd see them go one-on-one against each other again, because Eddie would be gone just a year after this. But, oh, man, this was a masterclass. I loved this match. Anytime Eddie and Angle got on the ring, you know you're in for a treat.
No, I definitely do agree with that. One of the things I definitely do love about this match was Eddie Guerrero's reactions, and there's two cases in which this happens. One of which is when the boot comes off for the first time, and Angle puts on the ankle lock. Just Eddie Guerrero's reaction to him having that, having basically his bare ankle getting twisted and just wrenched. It is beautiful how he basically makes that ankle lock into more of a vicious move, because it's what Eddie Guerrero does. He loves putting people over. And you mentioned that ref bump. I love this moment because literally, boot gets used. Eddie's trying to do like the deal where he's just like, oh, nope, it wasn't me. Both of them are knocked down. Ref is just kind of like, what the? Okay. 1, 2. And I like just not even like a 2 or a 3. Eddie Guerrero just gets up. He's just like, I'm fine. Just those two moments are just like, oh, God, I miss Eddie so much. But no, I agree with you. I think in all honesty, this was probably match of the night in my opinion. But it's one of those things, it's really hard to ignore. Obviously, the main event is still yet to come. But it's one of those matches that just still tells the good story of the fact that these guys obviously do not like each other. They obviously are just really wanting to, beat the living crap out of each other. And it also ties up the series between them. I think that if they would have had Eddie Guerrero go over, then it would have been pointless to have another match between the two of them. But yeah, Eddie Guerrero taps out to the ankle lock. and the series is tied. They do have a couple other matches here and there within the next year. I know that there's one where they fight for a championship opportunity. They had a 2 out of 3 falls matchup where Luther Reigns got involved and cost Eddie that. And there's also a lumberjack match that features the return of the man who just wants a skitty.
Big Show.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm looking forward just to that episode where they just talk about that SmackDown where he just comes out and it's like, you all ate my skitty, I'm gonna get you done. He just destroys everybody. You ate my skitty, choke slam. You ate my skitty, punch. You ate my skitty, choke slam. Why are you all eating my skitty?
How are we not blocked by the Big Show yet?
Easy. I don't think he listens to this show.
Thank God.
Oh my gosh. So, let's get into talking about the next matchup because it features one of my favorite wrestlers at the time, but also one of my favorite people to talk about on the Twitter, that being one Nick Dinsmore, a.k.a. Eugene, taking on Triple H. Story behind this, Eugene, he just wants to be a professional wrestler. He wants to live his dream, and it's one of those things that got him over. It was kind of one of those things where some of the fans were vicariously living through him, because there's some people that think, I'll never be a wrestler, but if this guy can do it, maybe there's a chance I can do it. So he's been, causing like mischief and a little bit of chaos on Raw. I mean, let's face it, not every day you get to shoot a t-shirt gun at William Regal's crotch, which is still funny. Not every day you get to basically beat the coach and humiliate him, although everybody did that on a weekly basis, and it was always funny no matter who did it. Then came Triple H, who's like, Eugene, I am your friend. And basically all it was that he was using Eugene to get the World Heavyweight title. Did that happen? Fast forward to Vengeance. No, because Eugene and Benoit had a tug-of-war for the chair. Boom! Just gets clonked in the face by that. Benoit gets the victory. And the night after, we see Eugene saying, I'm really sorry, Evolution. And Triple H is like, it's okay, buddy. It's fine. Fast forward 2 hours later from that moment, Triple H is just like, I got something for you. Boom! Punches him in the face. Bam, 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 bam. Literally leaving him a bloody mess. And how does Eugene respond to that? He takes time off because, shockingly, a beatdown is not something that you can get back from in about a week's time. Holy crap, that's like storytelling at its best. Eugene comes back after a couple of weeks, and he cost Triple H the title again, and we get that ever so famous deal. Eugene! Eugene! Get out here now! And that amazing promo by William Regal, where he just says, it's very foolish of you to take advantage of a disadvantaged boy, because now you made an enemy out of me. And we just see William Regal beating the shit out of Triple H until Triple H is like, I'm going to use brass knucks. Boink! Hits him in the face, busts him open, makes him bleed. There's a lot of blood in this feud. Holy crap. Just beats down on Eugene, and Eric Bischoff is like, Triple H, you need to be rewarded for what you did. That's why you're going to get my nephew Eugene at SummerSlam. Triple H beats down William Regal again, and we get the feud between them culminating here at SummerSlam. Holy cow, this was a lot to cover, but at the same time, it was a very well placed story. Match itself, we'll talk about it. Right off the bat, we get these two guys sprawling. Eugene would hit a nice reverse elbow on Triple H, and then he would follow it up with the dreaded Swagingo!
Ding!
Oh my gosh, we're already at like 2 or 3 at this point. It's amazing. So Triple H uses Lillian as a shield and just throws him down, and then Triple H does that classic, kick him in the head. I guess they're trying to do like a suplex on the Spanish announce table, but Eugene's like, yeah, no. Triple H fakes an injury, but then he, of course, being Triple H, just beats on Eugene, and he has that classic phase where I think it was Earl Hebner who was the he had to be in this. He had to be the referee for this matchup, or it had to be somebody else. But Earl basically is just yelling at Triple H like, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" And Triple H just like, "What?" Eugene gets a little bit more momentum, and Triple H is just like, wait, man, let's be friends. Eugene's like, okay, rock bottom. Goes for the people's elbow, and eats a spine buster. Oh, Arn Anderson was proud. Triple H does a spot where he tosses Eugene into the steel steps, and he gets a little bit of a cut on his shoulder, which always kind of made me cringe a bit. I was just like, oh, that's rough. Throughout this matchup, I did make this note that King just hates Eugene. He's just making these jokes about him basically, he watches TV, he watches the radio. It's like, what is wrong with you? But whenever we see King having these moments, JR is just on his A game, just literally being like, yeah, what the hell's wrong with you? Or just having these kind of deals where he just shoots off on King. Always love this. Eugene gets locked into a sleeper, and before he gets his arm down for a 3, he does what looks like to be the click deal, which I'm just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Triple H goes for a pedigree, but it gets countered into another spagingo.
Ding!
That's 2 in this matchup. Everybody's happy. Eugene is basically just powering up. He hits his atomic drop. He goes for the airplane spin, but Triple H is just like, nope, I'm going to go for the pedigree. Oh, you got my leg. Not good. I hate that they cut this because it's stupid. Literally, Eugene just flips him off and hits a stunner, to which Triple H sells it like an MNFer. It was awesome. It was almost as good as the Randy Orton sell back the year prior, where literally Stone Cold hits him with a stunner and then Orton just looks like he got obliterated. It was awesome. Eugene gets to throw Triple H back into the ring, but woo! Look who comes out. It's Nate, or as JR likes to call him, Mr. I Got a Bestseller. And we see Eugene, he hits the Hulk Hogan leg drop for a 2 count. Goes for a pedigree, but Eugene counters it, hits a catapult, and gets a pedigree of his own there. Flair is able to make the save for Triple H, and then Flair just gets thrown out. And we just see Earl Hebner just be like, you, get out of here, get out of here. He doesn't even do like the whole like, whoa, you're out of here. No, he's literally just like, no shit, not taking any of it. It's like, no, get out of here, get out of here. And one of the things that I still remember to this day, and they cut this from this spot, is the amount of F-bombs that Ric Flair is saying in this entire deal. He's literally, Earl's trying to throw him out, and Flair's just like, hey, fuck you. I was saying, fuck you. It's just so funny. And then Flair's just doing the woo, and he turns around, meets a nice big old iron fist by the one and only William Regal. Oh, it was beautiful. And then Regal says, Eugene, turn. He turns around. Triple H hits the pedigree for the 1, 2, 3. And Triple H picks up the victory. Match itself, I liked the storytelling within the matchup. I think it might have dragged just a little bit. But to be honest, I didn't hate it. It was one of those things where it had its moments where it just kind of dragged a bit. But, the spots that they had there where a lot of people reacted was, the rock bottom, the stunner, the leg drop, the pedigree, Ric Flair being Ric Flair. They were all fun. So this was kind of more of like an entertaining matchup more than a like classic, back and forth deal that you would see today. It was one of those matches was there. Was it necessary? It probably could have been done on a Raw or It could have been on a Raw or SmackDown, but I'm not going to say it didn't really deserve that much of a spot in here. I mean, it had the most storytelling, so it made sense to put it on the pay-per-view.
I'll give it that. I mean, you and I have talked before about how I feel about Eugene. The cheesy inspirational music coming in, and Nick Dinsmore is an accomplished amateur wrestler, and this is what he got. But I mean, when I was taking notes for this show, I just grabbed my Nintendo Switch and was playing a little bit of Mario 64 just for a couple of minutes. I'm like, okay, yeah, the beating that this mentally challenged character got was borderline uncomfortable, but it wasn't ECW One Night Stand uncomfortable with the Sandman, because that was just cruel. That was just cruel. You guys know that I've spent the better part of a decade on and off working with special needs, so this gimmick is just a little bit touchy. But I will give it this. Eugene got some great offense, and Toronto was not having it. Eugene, more like Boo Gene, and Triple H just taking advantage of him. The storyline up to it, I thought, was immaculate. It was well done. You could smell a mile away that Triple H didn't give two rat's asses about Eugene and was just using him a little bit. But having a guy like William Regal in his corner, especially when he cold-cocked Flair at the end, I was just perfect. I would have loved to see, Triple H versus William Regal, but, Regal was just coming off some horrific injuries he was going through at this point in time. But, yeah, Regal KOing Flair was the highlight here, but Eugene getting some offense in. Would have been neat to see Eugene win and kind of get his comeuppance on Triple H, but we wouldn't see that here.
No, the only time he would beat Triple H would be about a couple weeks later when he won a no DQ matchup against Triple H with the help of one Randall Keith Orton. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So, I'm just going to cover this really quick. It is the Diva Dodgeball deal. I'll make it short and sweet. At least I'll try. There's points where we see Coach try to stir the pot between the two teams, and he's trying to add the drama, blah, blah, blah. A couple of people that I think were just amazing in this were Jazz, where she's just, showing off her muscles, going like, take no prisoners. Just be absolutely amazing. And just her reaction to hearing Coach say the phrase of, we're going to take him to the witch end. It's like, say what? God, Jazz, why were you not utilized more? Just why? She's amazing. Michelle McCool just showing her dominance, the future Mrs. Undertaker. Stacy's kind of just there as long as other people, but Stacy Keibler's just there because she's, whatever. I will say this, that I will make a case that Gail Kim is the true winner of Diva Dodgeball because she never got eliminated from that. I will say that it hit her hat, it didn't hit her. So, I think that I'm going by Curtis Axel rules right now. She was never eliminated. She won. But, yeah, it was kind of one of those things where this is a one-sided shoot deal where the women who have no wrestling experience are beating the women that do. Okay. What was the final cherry on the top of this shit Sunday? Oh, Victoria and Trish decide to brawl, which brings up their feud that happens at Unforgiven next month. That was kind of the highlights from that. I will also say that Jerry addressing that that the Toronto people were just booing the shit out of this thing. I thought that was funny. That's all I have to say about that. Let's move on to the WWE Championship matchup, which, oh my god, does this have one of the best endings to any title matchup ever. But we have to talk about how we kind of get into this. Basically, JBL, while he was done, going up and down the border and making sure that illegals were not passing. Oh, God, I can't believe that still was a thing. He basically is saying, like, nobody's worthy of fighting me for this championship at Mania. Taker's like, bitch, say what? Comes out, chokeslams JBL and says, you, me, Summerslam. That's really it. That's really the basis of the story behind this. So, yeah. They have a nice little tale of the tapes where they're showing that Undertaker is vastly bigger, heavier, and more experienced than JBL. And we go into the entrances. A couple things I want to state here is that there's one dude that's literally doing a double bird to Undertaker. And I'm just like, screw you, dude. Come on. It's Undertaker. He's amazing. Undertaker also had this really weird beard thing going, where I think it was just kind of like the mutton beard thing. It was bizarre for me to see him like that. But before we go into the matchup itself, there was a sign that just said, JBL, no one cares. It's like, preach, brother, preach! I love it. Mr. Fretz, what did we see in this matchup?
I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't take that many notes. I did not like this match because I do not like Texas Trump, a.k.a. JBL. I hated his gimmick. I always say that JBL is the worst character transformation in wrestling history. To go from Texas Badass to that, I would have loved to see Bradshaw as like a no-nonsense Stan Hansen-esque Texas Badass instead of this stock market wiener. But, yeah, I wish Taker won the title here, but he didn't. I think there was a DQ or just it turned into a schmoz, and then JBL got chokeslammed on through the roof of his limo.
Yeah, literally I have like a couple of notes here and there. It's kind of one of those things where I think at first people were just kind of bored of it. They just didn't care. So much so that they actually started a wave during this matchup, which was very entertaining. They really didn't get lively until Undertaker hit like this snake eyes into the clothesline deal. Usually he does the big boot, but the story is Undertaker's leg was being worked on. But I will say this, there's actually a really cool spot that JBL and Taker do where referee goes down and they just both hit each other with a big boot. I thought that was great. There were a chance of Urkel at the one and only Orlando Jordan, who was recently announced as the chief of staff of Mr. JBL. Oh, trust me, he gets a cabinet before the year's over, and it's interesting to say the least. He had a title shot off the skull. Orlando, I also love this moment here. Orlando Jordan basically has the prone referee, and he's doing the counting. We see him go 1. Hey, wait, this is kind of cool. 2. Hey, he's going to win. And just before the 3, Undertaker just kicks out. And Orlando Jordan's face, I'm like, come on, man, come on. JBL looks like he's seen a ghost. But yeah, this is where we see OJ, he tries to hit the belt. Nope, Taker beats him down, and then he takes the belt, clunks JBL in the head. Referee's just like, oh, I see he did it. Okay, ding, ding, ding. Which sucks because JBL guaranteed that he was going to beat The Undertaker at SummerSlam. Didn't say how. Fuck. So, we see, as Fred says, Undertaker literally kills JBL. Just beating him down, throws him on the hood of the limousine, and then throws him into the limousine with a choke slam. I'm not gonna lie, that was a thing of beauty. I loved that.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. That I love when they do stuff like that because it always sets something up. I think they have a casket match or a ambulance match or like a last ride match or something coming
last
up,
ride
which
match.
would of course give us the that was heel Heidenreich, wasn't it? Or was it Mr. Kennedy? Nope, Mr. Kennedy was 06.
That was Heidenreich.
No. Yeah, as much as I love Taker, this wasn't one of his finest outings. You know, JBL was okay as a wrestler, but as I said, I did not enjoy this gimmick at all. I couldn't wait for him to lose the title. I would have to wait another 9 months until John Cena took it from him. But yeah, JBL I think is also one of the worst champions ever. And I'll echo Paul Heyman, as I kind of agree with him, because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays.
Oh, snap.
Crackle pop.
Well, it's time for the main event. It is for the World Heavyweight Championship. Randy Orton versus the champion at the time, Chris Benoit. Story for this: Orton wins the Battle Royal, and he talks about how it's his destiny to be the youngest world champion ever. He pinned Benoit in a six-man tag, which got him a little bit more of an advantage. But then the week following, Chris Benoit made him tap out, which I will say is kind of one of the best Randy Orton moments of his younger career. Because basically, Benoit just says, well, aren't we quite the mouthpiece, Randy Orton? Since you want to show footage about me getting pinned by you, let's show the footage of me making you tap out. And Orton just goes, what footage? There's no footage of me tapping out. You never made me tap. Benoit just grabs him and locks him in the crossface. And like 2 seconds later, Orton's tapping out. And Benoit's like, now let's watch the footage of me making you tap out. Lo and behold, there it is. So we get Howard Finkel on the announcing for this one, which actually makes the matchup a little bit more special. It would have been better had the frickin' microphone did not cut in and out all the time during Orton's deal. That sucked. But there's a talk of, it's Orton's destiny to win the title. Hey, what does that sound like? 7 years later? Oh, God. No.
It's my destiny.
And really weird, you screwed Brett chants during this matchup?
Yeah, that's because Hebner was the referee. We could not get over this. Canada. Yeah, I was pissed about it for a while too. But for goodness sakes, it was 7 years after the fact. Build a bridge and get over it. Brett moved on at this point in time. He was working on his comeback. I mean, I think it was just after his stroke, and Vince McMahon contacted him. We would see his DVD being set up not long after this, but Hebner's in the ring. It's literally the only reason, and that's all I heard throughout the entire match. And plus, it was probably at work.
Yeah, probably. So, match itself, we get some actually really good mat wrestling and chain wrestling to start between Orton and Benoit. We get some arm drags. And then we get this nice little spot here where Orton's going for the drop kick, but misses it. Benoit goes for the sharpshooter, but Orton counters with a sharpshooter of his own, which Benoit counters into a sharpshooter and a crossface attempt. I loved that spot. I thought that was really cool. We see Benoit go for an apron DDT on Orton, which he didn't really use since, I think, the Kurt Angle match from Royal Rumble 2003. I didn't really see him use it that much. It's like high-profile matches, he brings that out, which, hey, it was cool. Then Orton got hit with a baseball slide, and Benoit's going for the tope suicida on Orton, but he gets out of the way and eats a barricade. Ooh, was that just nasty. Orton, he hits his classic backbreaker, neckbreaker deal, which how he does that still perfectly to this day, I'll never know, but it's just great. We get that collision crossbody where they both go for a crossbody and they just meet. Some nice back and forth until Benoit gets the advantage with a Spucking Go!
Ding!
We see a nice Northern Lights. Orton hits a high cross body. We see another sharpshooter attempt after some suplexes. 6 Germans to Randy Orton. Back before Brock Lesnar tried to make it cool again. He goes for the diving headbutt, but Orton gets his boots up. Ooh, did that look nasty. Orton goes for the pin, but he gets caught in the crossface. We get some nice chain wrestling that ends up with Orton hitting a thunderous RKO onto Benoit for the win, becoming the youngest world champion in WWE history because they tried to eliminate Brock Lesnar's deal. Wow, that sounds so familiar. Orton's just, celebrating. He's happy. He's crying like a baby. He's crying almost as much as Kurt Angle did when he won the European title. But what are you going to do? Benoit, he goes back to the ring. He extends his hand out, and he's yelling at Orton to be a man, be a man. I like this moment because it is kind of one of those things where it is the grizzly veteran telling the young pup, "Hey, you gotta learn to be a man when it comes to this." And you gave me a hell of a fight, and let's shake on it, which they did. That was a cool moment. Orton is the world heavyweight champion. Let's hear him go on a lengthy reign. Oh, it only lasts 1 month because of Triple H. Well, shit.
Yeah, you can see I wrote in huge words here, I hate Randy Orton, or hated him at this point in time, because I loved Chris Benoit. We've been down this road before, that Chris Benoit was my favorite wrestler in 2004, and I miss Our Lady Peace theme. I'm going to say it, I miss Benoit. What happened at the end of his life was deplorable and awful and unforgivable. But God, watching this made me miss him, just because of where I was at this point in time as well. They put on a great match. Let it go, Canada, with You Screwed Brett. My goodness. We can't let it go. Hebner's out there. Randy Orton hits the worst sharpshooter I've ever seen this side of the Rock. And Benoit's like, I'm going to show you how to lock in the sharpshooter for real. Shows him how it's done. And there is a disgusting head-on collision, which, well, in retrospect, watching that with Chris Benoit is a little bit eerie. All the German suplexes before, this was when Suplex City was being erected, giggity, and we had that flying headbutt counter with the feet was disgusting. I thought Benoit was hurt really bad at that point in time, because it's not like when you go for a big splash and you get the knees up. No, Randy put his feet straight up in the air, and Benoit just ate his shoe. Then you see the RKO, and I was shocked. I was sad at the time, but we have a shocker here with not the youngest world heavyweight champion in history. That would go to Lou Thesz, you cretins. And I was saying that point in time too. It's like, no, Lou Thesz was like 21, 22 when he won his first title. First WWE. I know, I'm being a continuity nerd here, big time. Anyways, this was a pretty good match. Orton was really coming into his own here, and he was getting that rocket strapped to him, and I knew he deserved it. I was just shocked. It came at the expense of Chris Benoit.
No, I do agree with that, and especially me as a kid, I was shocked to see Orton win it as well, and I thought he was probably going to lose it by that time. But at the same time, I understand why they did it now. Was it the right way of going about it? No, just no. And then what happened afterwards, because they realized that Randy Orton was going to be a huge dick. Yeah, we get that. We do get that amazing moment after SummerSlam, where it's Monday Night Raw, Evolution celebrating with Randy Orton, and that big old thumbs up, thumbs down by Triple H, which is funny because almost a year later, we would see Triple H getting that delivered to him in the form of Batista, which in all honesty is one of the greatest WrestleMania builds of all time. Fight me on that, Internet. I dare you. So
full circle, take a shot.
Exactly. So overall, SummerSlam 2004, I'm glad that we rewatched it. This was one of those shows that I've not gotten a chance to really see since I was a kid, and I enjoyed a lot of the things that I saw. I liked the fact that there was still something for basically everybody. SmackDown delivered quite a few great matches, and Raw, they had some more of the showmanship kind of matches that you would expect them to have. There's a reason why a lot of people prefer SmackDown. I think that this is one of those few times where you see the reason as to why. But at the same time, am I going to say, Monday Night Raw wasn't perfect? Well, no, but they definitely did had matches that were either memorable, or they were actually something that were enjoyable. Certainly more enjoyable than what we watch nowadays. Just saying.
Let's not go there, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked this pay-per-view. I mean, I'll give it like a 6.5, 7. I mean, I liked it. I didn't love it, but there was a lot of good. Not that much bad, other than, well, you know, you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. I'd rather watch that than Divas Dodgeball because that movie's funny. I might watch it tonight. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, you had some great moments here. You had a good showing from the Cruiserweights and the Dudleys. You had a great match with Angle and Eddie. Whenever they're in the ring, you don't. Even if it's like Eddie versus Luther Reigns, you know you're going to get a good match. But or Kurt Angle versus the Brooklyn Brawler, or Daniel Pewter trying to break his arm. You know you're in for a good time when either of those guys are involved.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
JBL Taker wasn't that good of a match, but you had a good visual at the end, which was setting something up. And the shocker of the year, the shocker of the night, I think I lost money on Orton and Benoit. It was a good time, and kind of a decent time capsule of where I was personally at this point in time.
Yeah.
And I'll just take, I think we're on the verge of wrapping it up, but I'll just say that you will not hear me on the Game Changer podcast next week. I'm going to my parents' house. I'm just going for a little vacation. I do have a Fretz's Fave 5 preloaded for this coming Sunday. I actually recorded it like 3 weeks ago, finishing off NXT month with the next 5 big things in NXT, in my mind.
Yeah. Looking forward to hearing to that. That's going to be awesome. So I will be running solo next week, ladies and gentlemen, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to be in for a instant classic matchup, because I've got not one but 2 shows to cover, and surprisingly enough, one of them is not going to be Clash of Champions, which we will not be doing predictions for, because just nothing really crazy about that's going on. Or maybe each of us will do like an individual deal for kicks and giggles, but Clash of Champions, it's not something I'm looking forward to right now. I got a lot of things on my plate, so I got other things to worry about. So you can definitely expect the international flavor to continue next week, because my co-host gave me not one but 2 shows to cover, and I'm going to do the crazy and cover both of them into one show. It's going to be a bit of a crazy deal. Mr. Fretz, what can I expect with the 2 shows that you have given me?
Well, I am giving you both of NXT TakeOver Blackpool 1 and 2. And I don't know if we mentioned this on here or we were talking about it off air, but there's some big news from the Rant Foundation, our good friend Ant, Rant with Ant. Once a month on their feed, he's bringing back the 5-second rule with Shiny Head Kyle and Brad. Let's go. Bring the butt rock back. Let's get the Kyles. I'm so happy. I'm really pumped to. I almost screamed.
It's going to be really cool. Congratulations to Brad, Kyle, and Ant for getting the band back together for just fun kicks and giggles, as well as to Issa, William, and Ant for bringing back the Rant Foundation. Shout out to all of the great podcasts that we listen to, you guys. That does include Those Wrestling Girls. That also includes Ruthless Aggression Pod. Also includes Cultaholic. So many that go on here. But we would not be here without our brothers and sisters and people over at Wrestle Addict Radio, because you got us at the Game Changer Podcast, the Young Lions Perspective, the Kings of the Rings, as well as the Delight Show. A huge lineup of just absolutely wonderful, talented people who definitely want to keep wrestling real and be the common cure for the wrestling podcast. Hopefully this episode has brought you the cure for the summertime blues. Guys, check us out on our Twitter pages at the Legendary JF, at RealFNGame. Check us out on our Instagrams, where I barely post on Instagram, but I'll try to change that at least once or twice a week. You can always check us out on all of our great podcasting platforms, which does include Amazon Music. You guys, that is still mind-blowing that we even made it that far. Thank you to everybody that shows their support. Check out our t-shirts at teesprings.com. We have our very own merch site, so definitely check that out. It is actually in the description here in the podcast. Also, be sure to check out our Patreon, where we do cool stuff. And we are actually working on another game show with myself as the host, and my guest will be Mr. Fretz. When will that be coming out? We're working that out right now. It's just that there's a bit of a crazy time that's happening right now, and we both work. We are people that just, like to work, and we like to make the tons. Let's face it.
Yes, absolutely. And just to go off here, again, rest in peace, Road Warrior Animal. If I can just say, if we can just go like favorite match, whatever. My favorite match with the LOD, Nasty Boys, SummerSlam 91, Chicago Street Fight. They win their first tag titles, and it was a huge pop. And a huge deal for me is when they came back in 97, because it was through the tape trading that I found the Legion of Doom. Shout out to my old buddy, good brother Stuart. Him and I were chatting about it this week. It's sad. I loved their run in 97 when they did the thing with Ahmed Johnson at WrestleMania 13. That's a review for the future. It's sad. Legion of Doom, man, forever. What a rush.
Definitely. Their matches will be immortalized on the internet, as well as the WWE Network and just everywhere else that you can possibly find Legion of Doom stuff. So definitely show your support through them by always being positive, always being safe, always being smart when it comes to your comments on social media. We know that this is a tough and trying time, but that doesn't mean that you should be a dick about it. Definitely stay positive, stay polite, be yourselves, you guys. So with that being said, with Mr. Fretz, I've been NateFNGreat. You've been listening to the Game Changer Podcast, a part of Wrestle Addict Radio. Thank you so much. And Mr. Fretz, enjoy your vacation. And for everybody else, I will see you next week. Oh, God. 2 takeovers. Will I even survive? I don't know. We'll see if there's even like a heart rate monitor throughout this entire deal, because I have a feeling I'm in for a wild ride.
LOD.
What a rush.
This has been a Wrestle Addict Radio branded podcast.